All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome to part 4 of the 5-minute Sauna Talk. And this is a continuation of the previous video where we spoke about nutrition and how a caloric ascent can help you with weight gain and how a caloric deficit can help you with weight loss depending on your goal. Okay, so we also spoke about the qualities and the quantities of foods and how they both play an important role in order for you to actually get to your overall goal. So in today's video, I want to break down the macros and how we can turn that 1 pound loss into fat or that 1 pound gain into muscle. Okay. Now there are 3 important macronutrients that our body needs in order to function well, which are protein, carbs, and fats. Our job is to find out how much of the total caloric intake that we need, how much of that is going to be coming from protein, how much of that is going to be coming from carbs, and how much of that is going to be coming from fats. So let's say you're someone who needs to be intaking 2,000 calories total in one day. How do we figure out how much of those 2,000 is going to be coming from protein? Be sure to get your assessment done, get your BMI done, where it tells you where your lean body mass is, your body fat mass index is at, and look at your lean body mass. The number that your lean body mass says, let's say for example it's 105, you better be sure that you're not eating less than 105 grams of protein a day. If you're eating less than that number, you're more than likely not going to support muscle growth and muscle repair after a training session. Okay, so step 1 is to make sure that you're eating more than your lean body mass total number in your assessment. Okay, step 2, I would pretty much go based off where your goal is. How much muscle are you wanting to increase, and how much fat are you wanting to decrease? If you'd rather increase more muscle, then again go back to the O number where 3,500 calories total is going to equal 1 pound. So if you're going to go over 500 calories in that number of your lean body mass every single day, in the end of the week, you should be looking at 1 pound of muscle. I hope that makes sense, okay? If not, look over the previous videos and you'll get what I mean, okay? Now, that's just based on your goal. So you're probably looking at anywhere between 35 to 50% protein. But let's say that your total number comes out to 40% intake on protein. Now, let's say if it's 40% total, now you have 60% remaining to make up the 2,000 calories that you need to be intaking a day. Now, that's when we have to play around with the carbs and fats, okay? Let's say your training session is a more HIIT-like training session, a more CrossFit, powerlifting, weightlifting, something that the intensity is spiked up really high. Now, the intensity is really high, you're more than likely going to have a higher percentage in carbs. You need that fuel, okay? If your carbs are low, there's no way that your performance is going to be optimal during that training session. So make sure that the carb percentage is higher than your fats. So it's probably going to be anywhere between 35% and 40% of carbs. And make sure, we're going to go over the timing later on, but make sure the timing of those carb intake is at the right time. Just enough to fuel your workout, and that's it. Nowhere else throughout the day, okay? So let's say it's 40% carbs. So you have 40% protein, 40% carbs, 20% left. Where's that coming from? Fats, okay? So it's 40% protein, 40% carbs, 40% fats. Now, let's say that your training session is not so much HIIT-like. Let's say your training session is more of a high volume, low intensity. So you're just going out for a run. You're going out for a bike ride. You're going hiking. The intensity is not so high. Let's bring down the carb percentage. There's no need for you to fuel your body so much if you're not going to be using it so much, right? So let's go in reverse. Let's bring down the carb to 20%, okay? Let's bring up the fats to 40%. Okay, so let's just swap both of them up. So it's 40% protein, 40% fats, and then 20% carbs. So it just depends on what your regimen is, okay? It depends on what you're doing. It depends on how your training is, okay? So that's pretty much a caloric, in a caloric deficit for 2,000 calories. But now let's go over the muscle gain. Let's go over a caloric ascent. How can we gain weight, okay? So you are burning 2,500 calories a day. You need to intake 3,000 calories a day, okay? So again, let's go back to the protein. So if you're intaking 3,000 calories a day, you want to look at your lean body mass. Now it's up to you. If you want to go past the 3,500 calories a week, then you're probably going to have to eat more than 500 calories than where your lean body mass says for protein. So you probably go anywhere between 750 to 1,000 calories over. That way you go over 1 pound a week for protein, okay? So the percentage of protein is probably going to be about 45%, 50%, and then now let's say in this example 50%. We'll make it easy. So you have another 50% remaining coming from carbs and fats. Again, it depends on your training regimen. Okay, if you're going to be doing some muscle gain, if you're doing bodybuilding work, which is high volume, the intensity is not so high, then I'd recommend keeping the carbs, at a minimum. Probably at about 25 to 30% for carb intake, okay? Because you still want to support muscle growth, and I think carbs is very important for you to actually help repair those muscles and actually support the muscle growth itself, okay? Now, so probably go 30% carbs, so you have 50% protein, 30% carbs, 20% coming from fats, okay? Same thing, coming from fats. Now, let's say your training is more of high intensity. Let's say you focus on gaining weight, but you're still doing some HIIT-like training, you're still doing some CrossFit-like training, then the carbs is going to be a little bit higher. So 40%. So you have 50% protein, 40% carbs, and 10% is coming from fats. Another important thing to remember is the timing of the carb intake. Now, remember that carb is responsible for fuel. So if you're about to hit the gym and you know that the workout is going to be real intense, I'd recommend having a good amount of those carb intake pre-training and post-training. Now, it's up to you to experiment what works best. Is it an hour pre-training, 2 hours pre-training? Okay, when is the right time for you to actually intake those good amount of carbs? Because some people will have it way too soon and they feel bloated during their workout. So experiment with that. And then after the workout, make sure you intake the carbs again. And that's going to help rejuvenate. It's going to help repair the muscles that you just broke down, okay, during the training session. So it's very important to have it pre and post, okay? Let's say your training session's in the afternoon. Make sure you have it for breakfast and make sure you have it for lunch. For dinner, ignore the starchy carbs. You don't need them. Okay, you're done with your intense activity throughout the day. There's no reason for you to have it at night. Do not intake so much sugar. So if you have carbs, make sure they're quality. It goes back to the old video, quality and quantity first. Okay, so quality is number one. Make sure the carbs, you realize that there are certain carbs that is not so high in glycemic. Okay, so I really hope that you kind of come to a realization of which low glycemic carbs are right for you when it comes to muscle gain and fat loss. Okay, we've gone over the macro breakdowns, we've gone over the timing of the carbs, the importance in protein. Guys, I want you to remember it's very important to have that protein. Don't neglect it, please. I think that's everything, guys. If you guys have any questions or if you want me to break down even more for you, contact me directly and then I'd be more than happy to break it down for you. So that's about it. Hope you guys have a good one. Goodbye.